As a Minnesotan, I love it when Minnesota makes national news, because we're usually considered flyover country. Not in the last few days, because I was a huge Prince fan and my beloved passed last Thursday. So Minnesota was on the news all over the world. Whenever Minnesota is on the news, as a Minnesotan, I am drawn to the story, and John Oliver talked about Minnesota too. He was reviling some Minnesota legislators because they were against some legislation. And here's a real pet peeve of mine. So I can make really awful legislation because hardly anybody actually reads it or gets into the details or the fine print of legislation. If I want to pass some legislation, I just name my legislation We Love Babies Act. So I'm going to make the We Love Babies Act. And this is what happened here. We had the Women's Economic Security Act. We'll call it WESA, which doesn't that sound so nice? It sounds like, oh, the economic security for women. We love women. That's what it sounds like. And that's why John Oliver was reviling Minnesota legislators who were against this act. Like, what do you hate women? As a woman, I am completely against this act also. So the Women's Economic Security Act intended to address a gender pay gap in Minnesota, which also sounds nice. They're going to do their part to make sure that women are paid on an equal footing with men. Well, that sounds so nice. How do you feel if you are playing a game with someone? So say you're playing Scrabble and they let you win. You misspelled something, but they just and you really couldn't have put that word in that spot, and they knew it, but we'll just let it pass. And ultimately, they let you win. Usually, they'll let you know that they let you win. I mean, let's face it, that usually comes out. But how do you feel about that? Does it make you feel like they respect your abilities as an equal? Does it make you feel like does it make you feel proud of your abilities? No, it doesn't. It completely undermines your self-confidence. We all want to win. We want to win fairly. There are those of us who want to cheat and defraud. I guess there's that element of society. But if you want to talk about building self-respect, there's only one way to get self-respect. It can't be had by cheating, and it can't be had by having people let us win. I was a software developer. I started off at Training Wages, which was fine because I didn't have any experience, so it was an earn while you learn situation. But after a year and a half, I was a competent software developer, and I knew that I was providing them a service that was worth far more on the market than what I was getting paid. Also realizing that, let's face it, in a review, a 12% raise would have been generous, right? It's hard to get the kind of raise that I needed. I knew what competitive wages were. It's something that we can all find out. If you want to know what other people are paid to do what you're able to do, just Google it and you'll get your answer. So if you're not being paid competitive wages, and that I wasn't, what I did was went out to another company, got an offer, and brought it back to my employer. And I said, if you want to keep me, you'll match my offer. And they said, yes, we want to keep you. So that's how I got a 50% raise. I was proud that I negotiated a 50% raise. It was an accomplishment. If women aren't negotiating, is the answer to go to employers and force them to comply? I think that's going about it all wrong. It creates a whole bunch of unintended consequences. For one, if I'm so glad that I got my 50% raise before the Women's Economic Security Act, because if I had gotten it after, I'd be wondering, did my employer want to win brownie points for their equal pay certificate? And my coworkers would probably wonder if I was worth it too. And I would wonder if I was worth it. So it would undermine my self-confidence. I find that the ultimate insult. In the guise of helping women, I feel like they just leveled us the biggest insult imaginable. Not to mention, so for some comic relief, and of course to get your equal pay certificate, you have to give $150 to the state of Minnesota, so, there's nothing in it for them or anything. Fill out a whole bunch of paperwork. It's possible that you could get audited for your equal pay certificate so that you have an audit of your company and all of your employment. So there's $150 in it per certificate for the state. And there's also exemptions. The state of Minnesota can issue exemptions for any reason at all. to any company they wish. If you have friends in the right places, you give contributions to the right people, maybe you just have a childhood friend who's in the right position to give you that exemption. For any reason or no reason at all, they can provide you an exemption for your equal pay certificate. This is exactly what's wrong with politics in America, and it all boils down to cronyism, where it's essentially the government being run like the mob, where if you have the right friends to protect you, you're cool. You shouldn't need friends at the Capitol to be treated fairly. As a woman, I find it the ultimate insult. I was so incensed over this legislation. What they're telling me is that I was a victim and I needed daddy government to help me because I was such a poor defenseless creature. I am so sick of this victim mentality. I will not be told that I'm a victim. It's the ultimate in sexism to suggest that I am. And it ties into a whole culture where victimhood is glorified, and it's making us mentally ill as a nation. That is not a healthy perspective. The healthy perspective is to be an empowered person. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.